Hello, good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Steve Wright from Privacy Culture here chairing today's event at the PrivSec Global 2021. What a fantastic day it's been. We've been on air since early doors and we've still got some great lineup to come. But for now, I'm going to introduce you to a couple of gentlemen whom I've had the pleasure of meeting and talking to in the past. They're going to be talking about consent-driven PIA and data usage. And so I'm going to introduce both Moez and Jay Leopold. Do you want to join me, gents?
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it. I will start off by introducing Manetu, and then I will ask Jay, who is the head of investments for Columbia Threadneedle Ameriprise, to speak as to their experience with the Manetu platform and what they are doing with us. But as an introduction to Manetu, we are one of the very few, if not the only, fully automated data privacy and consent management platform. What that means is everybody has spoken of how data is the new oil and how you can leverage it. And every company from Amazon to Microsoft and Facebook wants to be able to leverage data and be able to run algorithms and derive information from that data. However, that data usually ends up belonging to certain data subjects who have rights over that data according to many of the data privacy laws that are emerging across the planet today. And consent-driven data management and data leverage, which is really what we would call ethical data usage, is the topic of the day today that I would really walk you through a demonstration showing you exactly how we provide those capabilities at Manetu. Having said that, I'd like to introduce Jay, and Jay would speak to us for a few minutes with regards to their choice of Manetu as one of their fintech partners. Jay?
Sure. Thank you very much, and glad to speak to you all. I'm Jay Leopold. I'm head of North American Investment Risk for Columbia Threadneedle, which is a subsidiary of Ameriprise. And we've participated in something called Mass Challenge, which is a nonprofit accelerator that connects us with numerous fintechs over the past 3 years. And once a year, we review our biggest business challenges, and data privacy was one of them that surfaced last year. We wound up reviewing 70 different applications of fintech companies that might meet any one of our numerous business challenges, and from those 70, we culled it down to a list of 15 that we wanted to meet face-to-face, and Manetu was one of those. And then after meeting with Manetu and 14 others, we selected Manetu as one of three firms that we wanted to partner with in 2021 to develop a proof of concept and test out their technology. I'd say in the past 2 months, Moez and his team has been fantastic partners. They've shown incredible flexibility, responsiveness, and their solution is quite impressive. At the end of the day, we want to use our clients' data to help them and better serve them, but we want to ensure that we are doing so in an ethical way and with consent so that we can meet all of the rapidly growing regulations that are surfacing at the state level in the United States and also in the EU. So we're very pleased with the fast start and the nimbleness that both firms, Ameriprise and Manetu, are exhibiting. And we're really excited to see the results of the proof of concept that we're working on. It seems to be a fairly robust technology that has a lot of applicability.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction, Jay. I will do a screen share and walk you through some of our consent management and data management capabilities, which will then give you some feeling for how we provide the capabilities that I speak of, and then we'll also have Steve, the CEO of Odgers, join us towards the end, and I'll take a few questions. I'm only going to spend a few minutes on the product demo itself. But from a product perspective, we actually provide these capabilities to the enterprise directly. And from the enterprise, you can imagine that an enterprise administrator may log into our portal and have the ability to actually ingest data from multiple connectors. So in this case, I'm showing you connectors such as Excel and Microsoft SQL, Postgres SQL, Salesforce, Snowflake, and many others that you can pick and choose from our connector page. We have developed dozens of different connectors and have the ability to manage them. And what happens is that the administrator can come in, choose a connector, establish a connection. None of this information is ever visible to Manetu. And once they do, they have the ability to choose attributes from any schema within that particular storage instance and choose the attributes that they want to share and expose to the data subjects or the data owners directly. And by choosing these, they have the ability to either choose or deselect these fields. And once they onboard this data, that data becomes visible to them in one place. So imagine an enterprise. So I used to work for one of the larger banks on the planet. We had thousands of data storage targets. And one of the main problems we had was we never really knew in detail where our data was coming from and where certain attributes sat. In Manetu's case, what we do is when you're looking at a data attribute, and you can look at this particular instance of one data subject, and you can see that this particular data attribute, we can pick on any one of them, title, is coming from Microsoft's SQL, Postgres, 2 instances of Postgres, a CSV file, and Salesforce. So in one place, you have the ability to know exactly where data is flowing from. And when this data is actually modified, we have the ability, if the enterprise wants, and they have set up under their connector page right here, when they set up onboard of the data, they have the ability to say whether they want that data to be synchronized back to the storage targets in real time. If they set it up that way, we have the ability to harmonize data across multiple platforms in real time. So by doing that, you never have stale data in your organization, because if a particular piece of data changes, let's say within Salesforce or Postgres, that data is not only updated within this control plane that you are looking at, but that data is also updated within all of the other systems, hence providing full data synchronization across multiple data storage targets and providing data harmonization capabilities as such. Now, for a consumer can go through a very rigorous process of identity verification and identity proofing. And by the way, we are very proud that PrivSec Global chose Manetu as the partner to provide data controls for all conference attendees. So if you came to this conference and you registered as a conference attendee on the PrivSec Global page, if you go to the bottom of this page, you'll notice that there is a link over here that says how to manage your privacy information. If you click on that link, it brings you to the Manetu control page. This is where you register. And once you've registered here, you have the ability to control data that you are sharing with this conference and Data Protection World Forum in real time. So that interface would look something like this, where you would log in and you would have the ability, if you can imagine this is the particular provider, this page actually shows you all providers who have onboarded you onto the Manetu platform. You can choose one particular provider and see exactly what attributes that provider holds on you. And you have the ability to actually see what permitted use policies are in effect. So you can see exactly how this entity is leveraging your data. And you have the ability to either agree or disagree as to how they use that data with you in real time. And if you go into your data page, right, and you look at your data attributes, and let's assume that one of these attributes was wrong. Let's say the title shouldn't be CEO, it should be co-founder. If that is the case, simply when you confirm this, that confirmation creates an outstanding request that gets sent to the enterprise. And at the enterprise has the ability to manage that in real time, such that when this task appears, the system administrator at the enterprise has the ability to claim this task, go through a resolution process, and we not only provide this resolution process within the enterprise, where the enterprise can go and resolve this and say, yes, I accept this change. And for the reasons, if you want to put a reason in, you can say why you're accepting that change. But it's not just that that change gets accepted within the enterprise. We also have the ability to authenticate and notarize that change on a public blockchain, such that nobody can ever change the behavior or that transaction, and that transaction is memorialized. And when that happens, you can see that if we go back to the data subject and we look at the data subject information, you'll notice that the title changed from CEO to co-founder, and all of these target systems that were mapped, such as Salesforce and others, will show that that title has changed from, right now it's showing CEO. If I simply refresh this, that title change would have occurred here in Salesforce, changed to co-founder. And as we saw, since this particular attribute is being shared with other systems such as Postgres, I can go to my Postgres interface and you'll notice that this is still reading CEO. I refresh that interface and it changed to co-founder, as well as within my Microsoft SQL, this change will also get reflected as co-founder. So we're doing full data harmonization across all map systems. And we provide policies which are in effect across the organization. And let's assume that you want to create a new policy. So Data Protection World Forum wants to use your data for marketing. If they were to create this and they said that this is an automated opt-in or opt-out, and this is in effect from a certain date till a certain date, and they can provide any description that they want. And they can also provide and attach legal language here. Once this policy has been created, this policy goes into effect for all data subjects or specific data subjects, targeted policy usage for certain regions or other attributes that you want. And these policies go into effect directly. You'll notice that this policy, DPWF, went into effect, but it's not active yet. However, on the data subject side, so if this is the consumer portal again, you'll notice that the consumer gets a new notification saying that a new policy went into effect. And if the consumer says, yes, I want to enable this policy, now the consumer has the ability to agree or disagree. However, if they agree to this policy will go into effect immediately. The consumer can see which policies are in effect and which are not. And on the enterprise side, if I simply update this page, you will notice that the enterprise has the ability to see which policies are in effect, and they can see this particular policy is in effect. We give the enterprise administrators tools under our developer page where they can write GraphQL queries such that they can say, show me every person who has actually opted in or opted out of a certain policy, and give me their email address or give me their phone numbers. And by doing that, we can actually define very granulated usage of data, and the enterprise has the ability to collect that data and be able to display that data and leverage it with consent, hence that ethical data usage that we were speaking of. Along with that, as an enterprise makes changes due to different regulatory reasons or reporting purposes, we create an activity log. The activity log shows exactly what types of actions have been taken, who took those actions, what the previous value was of those attributes, and what the new value of those attributes are. So by doing this, not only are you able to manage consumer preferences in real time, but you're also able to keep a record of everything that happened on your system in real time at all times. So that being said, I think that those were the core capabilities that I wanted to show you today. We do have other guests that would be joining us in a second. I see that Steve hasn't joined us, but I am happy to start with any questions. And then once Steve, who is the CEO of Odgers, joins us, we will also ask him how they are leveraging consent-driven data management for over 1 billion clients of theirs. So Odgers has created one of the largest data lakes on the planet, and that data lake is being leveraged with consent such that when they have appropriate consent from their users, that particular data can be used in the ways that I described, and we can record exactly how that data is being used, and consumers have the ability to opt in and opt out on demand. That being said, I believe that Steve has joined us, so I will ask that we bring him on board with us when ready. In the meantime, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have. I see that one of the questions is how the Manetu platform is scaling and the deployment models. So we actually deploy this platform as a SaaS solution in the AWS cloud, and we provide locality services. So locality could be for European Union residents, locality could be for US residents, and we can ensure that that SaaS platform is being deployed from a particular jurisdiction. And we also have the ability to then scale that appropriately to billions of transactions and billions of identities on demand. So that was the first question. I'm also being asked, how do you confirm the identity of the individual to ensure data isn't updated by unauthorized parties? We go through a very rigorous identity verification and identity proofing process. That identity verification and proofing can be done on multiple vectors, such as the entity has to show control over certain domains like their email, their telephone numbers, and other domains. And once they've gone through all of the numerous vectors that the enterprise wants them to proof on, we then provide them the capability to interact with the platform. That being said, I do have Steve, the CEO of Odgers, with us. I would like to ask Steve to please take a few minutes and discuss how we are leveraging the Manetu platform and the amazing data lake that they have created with many, many identities on the planet and what they plan to do with it.
Good. Well, thank you, Moise. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you just fine.
That's great. So yeah, my name's Steve Potter. I'm the CEO of Odgers Berndtson in the U.S. Odgers Berndtson is probably the largest global search brand you haven't heard of if you're U.S. focused. We're much smaller here than we are internationally. We're the 6th largest global search brand in the world. But in the U.S., we're much more than that, actually. We're in the interim business. We're in the mid-market business, RPO business. We're in the leadership assessment business. And we have launched 2 businesses this year, one in particular that Manetu has been very, very involved in. One is a human capital consulting business comprised of 20 chief people officers run by the former CPO of McDonald's Corporation, which is the largest chief people officer job in the world, actually. And that's on steroids and doing really well. But the venture that Moise referred to is something we call Adenix. And Adenix is an AI-driven data technology platform that sits on top of a billion data subjects. So we have a billion records, usually 10 to 15 points of information on those records, which we then enhance to anywhere from 100 to 150 points of information. So we're going out and getting Twitter feeds, Facebook feeds, LinkedIn profiles, Crunchbase information on the company performance, longitude, latitude information on where people are located to do sophisticated talent mappings and human capital mappings, all sorts of very, very sophisticated work around improving recruiting, but also in improving human capital data. So when we make a map of 150,000 gaming engineers around the world, which we did, we can actually dial that map back 12 months and see where everybody was 12 months ago and where they are now. And so we're really getting deep into, the human capital data is going to be much more important than just the talent recruiting assist that it's so good at. But I have to confess, about 8 months ago when we're rolling this out, I almost didn't get permission from my board, and the concern was data privacy and compliance and data security. And if we hadn't found Manetu, which my chief data officer found and brought you guys into the equation, I don't think I would have gotten a green light from the board. This company is going to be it's profitable from day one. It's being spun out into a startup. We're funding it. We've got that lined up, and we're extremely excited about the partnership that we formed. We hired some of the toughest data security law firms, and Manetu's passed muster with them all. But really, the thing that I didn't expect at all, and I'm really happy about, is that we're approaching it together as business partners. And I can say it's starting to become a two-way street where we're actually working with Manetu to help you guys grow your business, because there's lots of things that we can do to help you. But you've become a strategic partner, and we're talking now about using data compliance and security, which I always regarded as kind of a necessary evil to keep the regulators at bay, but actually using some of this to create competitive advantages for our business as others are trying to come into it. This is something that most people don't have a grasp on, and our partnership has really been quite extraordinary to this point, and it's growing leaps and bounds, and as is the company. So I'll stop with that, but I just can't say enough, Moise, about what you've been able to do and the service you've provided to us. And I actually don't think that Idenix would have gotten green-lighted if you hadn't been part of the equation. So I'm eternally grateful for that, because it's working out extremely well. Happy to answer any questions if folks have questions about the data lake or how we're doing this, or what Manetu's role. Certainly Moise can comment on that as well.
Steve, we're extremely grateful for your partnership, and we really appreciate your time today. I do have a question with regards to software solutions and how we provide encryption of data and the security platform. And I will suggest this, that any data management platform is only as good as the breach prevention that you can provide. Our platform not only does security from a data at rest or data in transit capabilities, but we also have the ability to do in-model encryption. What that means is that while we will make sure that all data at rest and data in transit is being encrypted, our data can only be decrypted when we know that the data the owner has given specific permission to the data consumer. And that relationship is a one-to-one mapping. And that relationship, on top of all the other encryption that I mentioned, needs to exist before we end up providing capabilities for anyone to be able to view that data in plain sight. So that hopefully answers the security question. I do have another question that speaks to the data usage controls and how we have the ability to ensure that certain trusted partners are using the data as per consent. And for that question, I would suggest that the consent management capabilities that I showed you, where policies can be created at an extremely granular level And those policies can be applied to all aspects of data or specific aspects of that data in a way such that only that data is visible if consent is made is present, and it's not visible when consent is not present, is specifically what Manetu does around consent management and policy management capabilities. So I think that answers that particular question. I do have one more minute if we have any other questions. Otherwise, I would like to really thank you for all your time. As I showed you earlier, you have the ability to actually exercise the Manetu platform directly by going through the PrivSec global site that I showed you. When you click on the Manetu link, you have the ability to interact with the platform and be able to modify consent or change any attributes that you want in real time. I would like to highlight that normally speaking, each one of those actions ends up taking 30 to 45 days for a normal organization, whereas when an organization is leveraging Manetu, you have the ability to take action within seconds. With that being said, thank you very much for your time, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Maris. That was fantastic. Really, really insightful. I appreciate that was a quick whistle-stop tour of the product and its capabilities, but that really did help give us a good understanding. So we appreciate that. Thank you.